And the suspect in the Buffalo supermarket mass shooting is expected to plead guilty today to state charges. He's the first person in state history to be charged with domestic terrorism motivated by hate after allegedly killing 10 black people and wounding several others in what police call a racially motivated attack. He also faces 24 other charges. I'd like to bring in ABC News senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky and host and legal analyst at Law and Crime Network Terry Austin for more on this. Aaron, let's talk about this new charge. This was adopted in 2020, and he's actually the first person in New York State to ever be charged with this. So what does that mean for this case?
Peyton Gendron's the first person to be charged with domestic terrorism as an act of hate, and it reflects what police and prosecutors believe the motive to be: racial animus. In the case of the Buffalo shooting, 10 black people were shot and killed, and they've said that Peyton Gendron traveled from his home near the southern tier along the Pennsylvania state line to western New York to Buffalo, an area with a predominantly black population there in East Buffalo, specifically to kill black people after promoting racist conspiracy theories online. This is somebody that had this in his head for whatever reason, and the defense hasn't said why, but he is now expected to plead guilty, and the court hearing is underway as we speak, Diane, to that and also murder, attempted murder, and weapons charges.
Now, Terry, there are no cameras in the courtroom, but based on your expertise, how do you expect this to go down today?
Well, if in fact he does plead guilty, I think it'll go relatively quickly, and I think he will probably, as many defendants do, plead guilty to all of the charges. And if that is true, then that highest count, that domestic terrorism with hate bias, then that does trigger this automatic life without parole. Although the way the statute reads, it does say, notwithstanding other provisions of law, he'll get this sentence of life without parole. But, you know, you have to look at the other provisions of the law. There might be federal sentencing guidelines. And as we said, it would go from the guilty plea to a sentencing phase where you will hear other evidence. So it's not an automatic, but it is an automatic trigger. And so if he pleads guilty, very well probably will be in prison for the rest of his life without parole.
Terry, could what happens in court today set a precedent for other mass shooting cases?
Well, it could. I think this case is a little bit different because this mass shooting is definitely motivated by hate. He had a 180-page manifesto. There's no question. He wrote online in chat rooms about the fact that he wanted to do this. He wanted to target certain people. So this shooting, unlike some of the school shootings where we see defendants who have some psychiatric problems, as a matter of fact, he decided to drop his psychiatric defense. So here, everything is lining up for this particular statute. But I do think it will give prosecutors in other states the ability to bring this type of charge with this type of serious sentence.
And Aaron, he is also being charged federally. Can what happens in court today impact this federal case?
Well, the prosecutors may take it into consideration if, in fact, he wants to try and work out some kind of a plea arrangement to avoid the death penalty, which is on the table. He faces more than 24 federal counts, a natural case for the feds to bring involving hate crimes charges, and we heard Attorney General Merrick Garland at the time of the shooting announce those charges. But really, they're two separate cases. What this does do is spare the families having to go through it all one more time in a state court if the federal case ends up on trial.
And Terry, could he plead differently in both of these cases?
Yes, he could. He could plead guilty here and not guilty there because he doesn't want to face the death penalty, and he'll take the chance of going to trial. But I do believe if he intends to plead guilty here, he may very well plead guilty. And he's trying, in my opinion, to avoid that death penalty. And on the federal side, if he pleads guilty, he enables the prosecution to go forward and not have to worry about the expense and the time and the difficulty as far as the families are concerned with going through a trial for the guilty phase and just, you know, going through the trial for the sentencing phase.
So, Terry, what are you watching for in today's hearing?
Well, I'm looking to see whether or not he is going to make a statement as to his culpability and his, you know, remorse for having committed this crime. I think his online writings would tell me something different, that he's not. He's just simply going to say that, he's pleading guilty. He understands the charges. The judge will ask him all of those questions, whether or not he's gotten advice from his attorney, whether he's doing this on his own accord. So those things will be asked, and he will answer those questions. But I'm curious to see whether or not he'll say something beyond the answers to the judge's questions.
All right, Aaron Katersky, Terry Austin, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.